Good evening and welcome to the February 16, 2022 RSC meeting of the Dover-Sherborn Regional School Committee. My name is Lynn Collins. I'm Vice Chair of the committee, sitting in this evening for our Chair, Kate Potter, and I call this meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. This open meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with the act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16, 2021. Information on how to join remote school committee meetings and meeting agendas are posted on the Dover-Sherborn District website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Before I open up to public comment, I'd like to begin the meeting with some words of remembrance and a moment of silence. I'd like to use the words of the Superintendent Smith in the email that Superintendent Smith sent to the Dover-Sherborn communities today, as her words expressed what the school committee feels. I thought it was very well expressed. During the past week, our school community has suffered a tremendous loss. Owen Bingham was a beloved member of our senior class and a larger-than-life personality that left an indelible imprint on our hearts for those fortunate to have known him. We send our prayers and deepest sympathies to Owen's mother, Jen, brother, Drew, and close friends and families dealing with this unimaginable loss. Please know that we will continue to remember Owen and let his bright light shine upon us. And now we'll have a moment of silence. And now we'll open it to public comment. Before we do that, I'll ask if there's anyone on the call that intends to make a comment before I read the preamble. I'll assume that's a no. So why don't I turn it over to Superintendent Smith to begin the meeting.
Thank you, Vice Chair Collins. Again, we're here this evening to talk about our proposed FY23 budget. I want to thank, certainly our team, our leadership team, our business administrator, Dawn Vittori, that continues to review and revise the budget that we will present this evening. So Dawn, let me hand it over to you.
Great, thank you. So thank you for being available before we meet jointly with the two finance committees, just because we had some additional budget adjustments that we wanted to bring forward and share with you prior to sharing with a larger group. And I'm also bringing forward a request to approve the large roof project, the capital project that we're planning on moving forward to be funded through the IMA. So in your packet, I gave you a continued roll forward of where the budget started, the adjustments that we made in February 1st, and then we have a new set of adjustments that we're proposing tonight. On the revenue side, if you recall at the February 1st meeting, I mentioned that the initial Chapter 71 payments had been posted. And with that information being available to us, we realized we are going to be seeing about $110,000 of additional Chapter 71 revenue. If you remember sort of our operating protocols and how we use E&D to offset the budget, when we are made aware of revenue surpluses that would have lowered the town assessments had we known about them this year, we're going to lower their town assessments for next year. So we're going to use E&D of $110,000 to give them credit for those additional Chapter 71 revenues that we're receiving this year that we did not budget for. And so that will directly impact their assessment by their percentages of the 110,000. So that's a direct decrease to their assessments. In addition, on the expenditure side, we did one more deep dive through the budget and are proposing the following adjustments. As we have done in some previous years, we have a small amount of just one-time purchases that were needs that would be in the budget one year, but we would take out the next. That totals about $14,000. And just to refresh your memory, if you look at your big sheets where you have by line item, you'll see where we highlighted that we needed some additional equipment for the forensics and some additional textbooks for the astronomy class. We were getting a new edition of some Spanish textbooks, and the middle school industrial tech needed some supplies one time only for their new curriculum. If you add all those up, we have capacity in our fiscal year 22 budget to take those on. So we're going to purchase those this year, and it allows us to take it out of your fiscal 23 budget. So the departments will get what they need. We're just going to use this year's money to acquire those. In addition, we have signed some new copier leases this year, and have looked closely at our utilization of the machines and the capacity of the machines within leasing. So given that in the main offices, both in the middle school and the high school, we have resized the copier that we are putting in there, because they had a copier that was had more utilization than they were using. So we weren't using it to its full potential. So we were able to sign leases for copiers that meet their needs, but have a smaller cost. And we did that in both main offices. We also, in departments like the art department and the library, where they have machines but have very little usage, we've started buying those machines out after the 3 years is up and extending their life as long as we can. We do purchase the warranty for those machines, but it's based on usage, and literally the warranty cost is probably less than $100 for the year because the usage is so low. So with those changes that we've made, I'm requesting that we reduce the copier expenses by $6,000. I'm going to skip down and just talk about some other trend budgeting. We looked at the SPED tutoring average annual usage, and I think that we continuously have surplus in those line items. So both the middle school and the high school, I'm trimming their budget by $2,500 each. That still leaves them a sizable tutoring budget, and know that you also have tutoring budgets in the guidance department. So there's multiple pockets of the budget where you have expenses to cover tutoring for hospital-based students, or their in other situations. So that's not going to impact our operations at all. In addition, we looked at our utilities, and based on projections of, not digging too deep into projections, because the last couple of years have been not typical years, but taking into account that we are putting this EMS system online, expecting some savings, and knowing that we have never really adjusted our utilities for the net metering credit. We're going to start taking some adjustments in that arena, and so we're bringing forward to $25,000 reduction in utilities. The last adjustment we have is to move the middle school academic specialist back to the grant for fiscal year 23. If you recall, we added that in version 1.0, but through further discussions, we think there are potentially some additional staffing changes that we can make at the middle school over the next year or so. So rather than adding that position into the operating budget, we have capacity to cover it in grants again. And so we think that's probably the most prudent thing to do right now. So it'll still be in place, but it allows us some flexibility to work with the existing middle school staff and potentially tweak how that staffing has worked. And then we might be able to not be able to accomplish what we want to without adding another position to the budget. So given that, we didn't want to add it to the budget and then take it out next year. So we're doing another pilot year. So you're getting all the services that we've talked about. It's just we're going to fund it a little differently for one more year. So with those, we have an additional $108,100 that we're reducing the budget by. So at the end of the day, our increase in our fiscal year 23 budget is looking to be just under $645,000, which is a 2.44% increase. So we've reduced it by about $450,000 from where we started on December 7th. And so as Maggie, I think, had mentioned before at one of the meetings when we got nervous, we do always start with our high water mark. And our goal is that we will hopefully not have to add more than we're going to take away, because keep in mind, we never know what healthcare is in December. We never know we don't acknowledge the retirements until we get to this part of the budget season. So our hope is always that we're taking away more than we may need to add. And that certainly has been the case for this round of budgets. Again, just to reiterate, we're very happy because we know healthcare is something that's been a hot topic, with both towns. And so I think the no increase basically this year, I think bodes well for our continuation participation in West Suburban healthcare. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront one more time tonight. So are there any questions on the new proposed budget adjustments? So the final numbers that you have is what's been incorporated into the presentation that we'll do at the 7 o'clock meeting, but I wanted you to understand what adjustments had been made so you fully understand now the total budget that's being presented tonight.
Do you?
A basic, oh, sorry. I have just a basic question. Are the numbers in the middle, are those cost centers?
Oh, yes, that's the function code. Yes.
Okay.
So that if you want to crosswalk this back to your big sheets, that tells you where I'm making those adjustments to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you remind me where we are in our labor agreement with the teachers? When does their contract expire?
So fiscal year 23, and that's on my talking points for the next meeting, is our third year of all of our contracts. So we will be in a position to begin negotiations next fall.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to do some mental math and projections with these numbers,
Right.
but I appreciate it. Is this middle school academic specialist a teacher, on the teacher contract?
They are. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Everything else makes sense, and your documents are always very easy to follow. So thank you.
And then in a separate packet, I did send to you, because everything's happening so quickly, sort of the brief PowerPoint that we'll present to Dover, Warrant, and Sherborn Advisory, along with some of the supporting documents that I think are an important piece of understanding the budget, as far as the enrollment projections, background on the new positions that we're adding. And then I think the good news at the bottom of that handout, if you see, is that actually what we're adding to our base is actually more than covered by the reductions in salary. So at the end of the day, we had more salary reductions than the adds, which does help the budget arrive closer to the 2.44 versus the higher number of 4% where we started. Okay.
At some point, maybe not when it's that busy, can we get a meta-analysis of just the teacher staffing that we have right now? How many of them are within 5 years? How many of them are within 10 years? Just so as we're thinking ahead to that next contract, we can be sort of projecting out who might be, moving to other activities.
Yeah, so definitely. And that's definitely sort of the data we definitely pulled together for the negotiation group. But we have shared before with the group the percentage of people that are on the top step and where they are in the matrix. You did have probably a higher number of retirements this year than in the years that I've been here. I think there's at least 7 being reflected. Some are mid-year retirements from this year, and then some are year-end retirements. So it was a larger percentage leaving than we normally it's 3 or 4. We're closer to 7 this year. So
did you have a lot leave before it was their full retirement time?
No.
Okay.
No, we haven't seen any early exits. Most of they're at full retirement, and will be taking advantage of the $5,000 that we offer. So they've been here more than 15 years. So that will be reflected in your actual financial statements. So the one piece of information that we're presenting tonight that we do need to vote on is that in a summary memo that was sent out this morning, we did go out to bid for the middle school 2 roofs and the Lenquist common roof. And the bid opening was February 4th. It is a large project and a complicated project, so the bid vetting process is still going on. We have 30 days from the date the bids are open until we have to award it. And obviously we have experts working with us or for us to go through all this. So, but they were able to give me yesterday a number of $1,575,000, which they felt was based on the bids they have is where they were going to land. And so I'm bringing that forward tonight to be approved. It is about 15% higher than the placeholder that we had in the initial version that you approved. Our hope was that we were going to be targeted at that number because we were excited about the number of interested applicants. But I do think that the market conditions are such that there is a little bit of fear out there and some products are harder to get. So I think this is just the sign of the times of projects, construction projects for the next, I don't know how long, but definitely for the right now. But it wasn't anything that they felt was out of line with what they're seeing out there. So what we had talked a little bit about on February 1st too was that let's put the bigger project that we know for sure into an IMA for the towns to fund. But the other projects that we're still working on finalizing are a dollar value that we can definitely take on ourselves with our E&D, since we are at our capacity of 5%. And so to move that process along, because the next step is that this IMA will be finalized and presented at each select board's meeting, because the select board has to approve the IMA. Then it'll come back for school committee to approve too. It's like a 3-party agreement. And so we want to get that process rolling and let them know what the amounts that they are going to have to be putting in their financial statements. So any questions on the roof project, the process, sort of how we're proposing to fund things?
I guess just a short, I know we broke it up into 2 pieces so that it would be digestible by an actual contractor. I think we talked about that a while ago, right? Rather than do the high school at the same time.
Than doing the whole campus, exactly.
So few people that would actually be able to do it. Do we anticipate that when they select a contractor for that we would use the same organization, or does the whole process go out to rebid? Is that, so we may or may not? Exactly.
Right. It has to go out for a bid because of the dollar value of it. And we have some thoughts about this. You know, we're in the middle of the EMS upgrade, which then sort of highlights some of your issues with your HVAC equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may pivot a little bit at the high school and move forward. This is more information than you need, but move forward with some replacements of some of the large rooftop units on the high school roof first, because that's going to set the landscape for the roof replacement. And so we're already, we're already starting to think about fiscal year 24 capital and how that may play out, because those larger projects just take a lot more planning time. And so we'll keep you updated on that, but it continues to be, an ever-changing landscape on what makes sense. You don't want to put a new roof down and then have to put new pieces of equipment that have the curbing that could change. So it's all working out, I think, in good timing, but just via the heads up, I'm telling you that we could have a little flip-flop with capital between 24 and 25.
Are we ready for a motion? I'd like to invite a motion to approve, and correct this if it's wrong, to approve the amount of $1,575,000 for the roof project as described in the fiscal year capital request schedule, to be funded through an intermunicipal agreement between the 2 towns of Dover and Sherborn.
Perfect.
Maggie Sharon, so moved.
Angie Johnson, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I will do a roll call vote. Maggie Sharon,
Maggie Sharon, yes.
Angie Johnson,
Angie Johnson, yes.
Kate Potter,
Kate Potter, yes.
and Lynn Collins, yes.
Thank you. So then I think we're ready to adjourn and go to the next meeting.
Okay, great. Well, Angie, did you have something to say? Oh, no, you were acknowledging. Okay. Let's poll to adjourn. And we'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.